can Google any one of these and what can I do, but that's why I like to have the interaction, because we'll talk about it in practical terms with real world situations. And then we have the during as that quarter of a second. And then there's another quarter of a second before step 4. Step 4 is the response. Step 5 is the emotional modulation. Step 6 is action. And step 7 is return to mindfulness and the present moment. So we have response, and we have emotional modulation. And I was talking about that a little bit earlier in terms of the labeling the emotion we're feeling. But the other part of it is the emotion is energy and motion. We want it to just pass through and let that emotion pass through. 90 seconds is all it really takes. But if you hang on to that emotion, if you try to suppress it, if you hold it down, if you're talking to yourself, trying to get yourself out of it, if you're arguing about it, what's happening is that emotion is there to tell you there's some risk or something you need to attend to. And because the subconscious doesn't really understand the difference or doesn't care about the difference between real and imagined, it's very easy to spiral out. Because if your self-talk and your self-image is all around this is life and death, then it doesn't matter how much energy you muster to suppress that emotion, the system is going to put more energy towards that signal because it's life or death. And so this is about modulation. If you let that emotion dwell and linger, it then turns into a chemical, a neurobiological event. It gets lodged into the neural pathways, and that's why it can be remembered. That's why we talk about where is the emotion, where do you feel it, and that's a way to just zero in on it. And then the next thing is you label it. What is it really, and what's the signal, and then what can you learn from it? And then we have action. So the action step is you do what you need to do, right? Because your reaction in a survival mode, and when people are in an anxiety spiral, the action equals the response. And we don't want the reaction and the response equal. We don't want that. We don't want them to equal. We need a pause here. And that pause allows that quarter of a second to elapse. So you go from the stimulus condition reaction, quarter of a second, and now you have the response. But you're not just sitting there waiting idly. What we're going to do is teach. See, everybody knows muscle memory. If I talk about sports and bring up muscle memory, everyone knows what I'm talking about, right? You do the drills, that's why you go to practice, and they don't mind doing the things over and over and over because they're creating the muscle memory. It's very, very common. But it's not muscle memory, it's nervous system memory. The memory of that move does not live in the muscle, it lives in the nervous system. It's the same nervous system, the same neural pathways that govern my speaking, that govern my action, that govern my thoughts. So we can, just the way we can train the nervous system to perform in a certain way, we can train in terms of physical activity, we can train the nervous system to perform in a certain way with respect to our thoughts, our speaking, our actions. And that's what this is. This is not mumbo jumbo, it's not mystical, it's using the same skills. It's called deep practice. You can look it up. We use deep practice and other things too, pattern interrupts and replacement, switch patterns, et cetera, because it's happening in a quarter of a second. So it has to happen